Hey there and welcome. Every single day we're making choices, right? Big ones, small ones. But have you ever really stopped to think about what's going on in your brain when you make them? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a really cool tool from economics that does just that. It's called the Indifference Curve. And trust me, it's a super powerful way to actually see how we decide between the things we want. So yeah, let's dive in. All right, to get us started, let's picture this. Super simple choice. You've got a little cash, you're looking for a snack. So what's it going to be? Coffee? Or maybe some cookies? Or, hey, maybe a bit of both. See, this is the exact kind of everyday decision that the indifference curve helps us totally unpack. And this is where we get to the heart of it. Some choices are tough, right? And that's because different combinations can actually make you equally happy. Think about it. Maybe one coffee and 10 cookies gives you the exact same buzz of happiness as, say, two coffees and only 7 cookies. In the world of economics, we'd say you are indifferent between those two options. You literally wouldn't care which one you got. And it's this idea, this equal satisfaction, that we're about to put on a map. Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we take this kind of vague feeling of equal happiness and turn it into something we can actually look at and, analyze? Well, it all starts with a simple list, which we then magically transform into a really powerful visual. And here's that list. It's called an indifference schedule. Sounds fancy, but really it's just a table. It lists out all the different combos of our two goodies, coffee and cookies, that give you the exact same level of satisfaction. So look here. Combination A is 1 coffee, 10 cookies. All the way down at combination D, it's 4 coffees and 4 cookies. Now the key thing to get is that according to this schedule, you'd be just as happy with combo A as you would with combo D, or any of the ones in between. You'd be totally cool with any of them. Right, and when you take all those combinations from the schedule and just lump them together, that's what we call an indifference set. It's just the official name for that whole collection of options that make you equally happy. Okay, now for the really cool part, the magic trick. We take those points from our indifference set and we plot them on a graph. We put coffee on one side, cookies on the other, and then we just connect the dots. And voila, you get this, the indifference curve. Every single point on this line, and I mean every point, represents a mix of coffee and cookies that gives you that same consistent level of happiness. But, of course, our happiness isn't always at the same level, is it? I mean, sometimes we're more satisfied, sometimes less. So it makes sense that we can have more than one of these curves. And when you put them all together, they create this amazing, complete map of our preferences. And this is what it looks like, an indifference map. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a topographical map, the kind with lines for mountains. But instead of showing elevation, this map shows levels of satisfaction. Each one of those lines is a different, unique level of pure happiness. And it's great? Using this map is super, super simple because there's one golden rule you just have to remember. Higher is better. That's it. Curves that are higher up and farther to the right, they always represent a higher level of satisfaction. More is always, always better. Just look at this slide. It shows the rule perfectly. You've got bundle A on that lower curve and bundle B on the higher one. Now just look at them. Bundle B has more coffee and more cookies. This whole idea taps into a really basic principle in economics that basically just says we humans prefer more of a good thing. It's called monotonic preferences, but all it really means is, of course, we want more. And since bundle B gives you more of everything, it naturally puts you on a higher, much happier indifference curve. So by now, you've probably noticed that these curves have a really specific shape, right? They're not just random squiggles. And that is totally on purpose. There are actually 3 fundamental rules that dictate how they look and act. And getting these rules is the key to everything. Okay, rule number 1. These curves always slope downwards from left to right. And this just makes perfect sense when you stop and think about it. Remember, every single point on one curve has to give you the same amount of happiness. So if you get more of one thing, say you grab an extra coffee, you have to give up some of the other thing, like a few cookies, to stay at that same satisfaction level. It's a constant trade-off in action. All right, rule number 2. Now this one's a little more subtle. The curves are always bowed inwards. You see how they curve in towards the starting point, the origin? The fancy term is convex to the origin. The special curve isn't just for show. It tells us something really deep about how our sense of value changes. But why? Why are they bowed like that? What's the hidden economic reason for that specific inward curving shape? Well, the answer is this concept called the marginal rate of substitution, or MRS for short. I know, it sounds super technical, but stick with me. It's just the official name for the trade-off we're willing to make at any given moment. It's the slope of the curve at any point. And the key thing, as we're about to see, is that this slope is always changing. And this quote just nails it. You're willing to trade more of what you have a lot of for one of what you have little of. Let's go back to our coffee and cookies. When you're swimming in cookies, you have 10 of them and only one coffee, you'd probably be willing to give up a bunch of cookies just to get that second cup of coffee. But fast forward to when you have 4 cookies and 4 coffees, the situation's totally different. Now you're way less willing to part with one of your precious cookies for just one more coffee. Your willingness to trade goes down, it diminishes, and that is what creates that beautiful, bowed shape. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important rule. Rule number 3. 2 indifference curves can never, ever intersect. They can't cross. Now, this might seem a little abstract, but it's based on pure, simple logic. Let's walk through exactly why this is totally impossible. All right, just for the sake of argument, let's pretend for a second that 2 curves could cross. We'll call the spot where they intersect point A. Now, since point A is on the first curve, let's just say that represents a satisfaction level of, 50. But here's the catch. Point A is also sitting on that second, higher curve. And we already know our golden rule, right? Higher curve means more satisfaction. So let's say that curve represents a happiness level of 100. And see the problem? That's the logical breakdown right there. How can the exact same combination of goods at point A give you a happiness level of 50 and a happiness level of 100 at the same time? It's impossible. It just can't happen. And that, my friends, is the simple, elegant proof for why these curves will never, ever cross. So we've charted our happiness, we've learned the rules that give these curves their shape, but you might be wondering, what's the big deal? Why do economists get so excited about this stuff? Let's zoom out and look at the big picture and see how this tool actually gets used in the real world. Yeah, this is so much more than just a theory in a textbook. The shape of your indifference curves, how steep or flat they are, it reveals exactly what you're willing to trade and when. Businesses use this kind of insight to figure out how to price product bundles. Governments can use it to predict how a new tax on, say, soda, might change what people buy. It is an absolutely foundational tool for decoding the why behind what we buy. So, the next time you're facing a choice, and it doesn't have to be coffee and cookies, it could be choosing between study time and hanging out with friends, or between saving your money and spending it, you now have a brand new way to think about it. You can actually picture your own indifference curves. What trade-offs are you really making? Pretty cool to think about, isn't it? Thanks for tuning in.